So I think I figured out why I've been recording in mono all the time. This mic that I have, when it's in stereo, which you would think it'd record this sound in stereo, it's actually looking for the second receiver to have two microphones to create a stereo environment. But I only use one because I only need one of them, obviously. And when I put it in mono, then it actually records in stereo. So hopefully this sounds a lot better in my last videos. Also, we are on the Nikon ZF with the Viltrox 15mm 1.7 air lens. And I do have a diffusion filter on it, so that's why you get a little bit of that look right there. And we're going to talk a little bit about this camera right here. So unbeknownst to many of you on this channel, at about the same time I picked up the OM-3, I picked up the X100 Mark VI. It happened to become available, and I ordered it really quickly. I've been trying to get one of these for a long time, as has everybody else. And as you guys know, I've migrated away from Fuji a bit. Just because, you know, with the autofocus and stuff like that, I've been just, I don't know, I haven't felt as good about it. And so with the Nikon ZF in hand and also an X100 Mark VI and the OM-3, I don't need, nor do I want to afford all three of those cameras, even though they're great. And so this video is to talk a little bit about why this X100 Mark VI kind of, I don't know, made me decide to part ways with the OM-3 quickly and keep the X100 Mark VI instead of the OM-3. And I'll be honest with you guys, it's not as clear cut as it probably should be to some of you guys. So let's quickly compare and talk about what my needs, well, let's talk about what my needs are from a camera perspective. I need one camera with the flip screen that has good autofocus that I can use for paid events. In my last video, I talked about doing team portraits, which I did. And I also have like my daughter's senior portraits coming up. I have to do a family shoot coming up, and I might be doing a wedding as well. And in that environment, I just don't really trust Fuji as much as I could. Now, obviously people shoot weddings with Fujis. It's just more of my personal preference. And if I had an option, I'd prefer to shoot that on full frame. Again, that doesn't really matter as much either. Now, you might be saying to yourself, well, Eric, the OM-3 is probably capable of doing all those things, and you're absolutely right. You pair the OM-3 with something like a 25-1.4, a 56-1.4 like Sigma lens, a 75-1.8, or whatever, you could definitely do it. And the autofocus and everything about the OM-3 is really good. Stack sensor, it's got a flip screen to do video with. It is overall a great camera. But I ultimately decided that this was a better fit for me. And I'll talk to you guys about why here in this video. To start off, I am a big fan of Fuji and their colors, as you guys know that. I like the film simulations, and I think that's really interesting. But what I noticed was as soon as I got the X100 Mark VI in hands and the OM-3, I quickly started picking this up a lot more. And I think there's a couple reasons for it. The first, this has a fixed non-interchangeable lens. Now for many that's a negative, and I'll be honest with you, I've also given thought the XE5 being a kind of one and done camera. But this having just a fixed lens takes away that decision matrix in my mind around Fuji. What lens do I put on it and all that kind of stuff. And outside of the new 23-2.8 and maybe the 27-2.8, there is nothing smaller. In fact, I don't think even those two lenses make a smaller package than this X100 Mark VI does overall. Second to that, this camera has this kind of that, I don't know, I hate to say this, you guys are going to crucify me for this, but that Leica-esque kind of rangefinder feel where you've got, you know, the controls right there on top, you've got optical viewfinder if you want to use it, or an electronic viewfinder, and it just feels, you know, aperture ring on the front, it just feels more complete as the kind of camera I want to put in my jacket pocket for everyday type of carry stuff. This Nikon ZF will never fill that role. It's not small enough, and it is a big lens. I also really like the controls on the front and the back. The OM-3 had that, so that's not a huge advantage there. And I like the fact that I have, like I said, the shutter speed and aperture controls up here. I like the fact it has a built-in flash. The OM-3 does not have that, and so that was also really good. But objectively, the OM-3 by itself, if you were to pick just one camera, is a better camera. But the Nikon ZF comes into play here a bit. The Nikon ZF for me fills that role where I'm doing paid shoots. It also allows me to have a second camera to record video and talk about other things like this X100 Mark VI for these YouTube videos. So having two cameras is really kind of important to me. And at the end of the day, I felt like the OM-3 is a really nice camera. But the viewfinder bothered me a little bit. It was still a good viewfinder. It wasn't excellent. It was okay. And at $2,000, I just felt like I would use this a lot more. A lot of what I like to do is capture candid moments. I don't share a ton of them here on this channel, but you know, for example, with my hockey team, I'm on the bench coaching a lot. I'll have this in my big coaching jacket. And sometimes if we have a big win or there's a moment on the bench, like sometimes I will just pull this out, boom, take a shot and put it right back in the jacket. The only camera that's really better at that is making a Ricoh GR, but the Ricoh GR gives up a lot of stuff to this X100 Mark VI. The other thought was this camera can, in a pinch, be used for video. It has, you know, decent video autofocus, and it has the nice Fujifilm color simulations. It does have IBIS, and it has the 40 megapixel sensor for photos. That's really nice as well. And what it ultimately came down to was, do I want to invest in the Micro Four Thirds system and have multiple lenses? And if I want to make the OM-3 fit in the same package as this, I probably have to get the 20 millimeter Lumix 1.7 lens, and that's not as capable from a video perspective and stuff as other options. Now the 15 millimeter 1.7 was an option as well, but again, I was diving deeper into Micro Four Thirds, and at $2,000 for a body and getting a couple of lenses, I'm probably $3,000 to $4,000 into that system. However, as I mentioned, if you have just one camera, the OM-3 is a better camera overall than this X100 Mark VI. And for me personally, I have to consider that I have the Nikon ZF. I have decided to keep the Nikon ZF because of that full frame capability, which probably has a smaller impact than most people would make it out to be, but it does have good autofocus. I like the manual focus experience on the Nikon ZF. And overall, I just decided that the ZF plus the X100 Mark VI was a better combination for me personally, given the way I like to shoot, given the film simulations, given the aesthetic of this camera, compared to maybe the ZF and the OM-3, or just the OM-3 itself. And so, you know, I had a quick stint with the OM-3, and I'll tell you, for a stack sensor camera, it's ultra fast. The autofocus is good, better than this camera for sure. But I ultimately felt like I was picking this up a lot more. And for me, whatever I was gravitating towards was kind of the camera to take and the camera to keep. I didn't need an OM-3. I didn't need an OM-3 and an X100 Mark VI at the same time. This additionally has like an ND filter built in, which is really, really cool. And just from button placement, like I take this button right here in the front, and I usually turn this into turning on my face and eye detection off and on. And then I take this button right here on top, if you guys see that, or that one, and I make that my white balance, because with many of the Fujifilm recipes, the white balance is really, really important. Some of you guys are saying, oh, I wish he was back to Micro Four Thirds or whatever. And you know what? I could see me buying the camera again in the future when it comes down in price a little bit. But for right now, this Nikon ZF, I think, fits some of the professional type work that I need to do. And this fits a little bit better as an everyday carry. And I felt like the 1-2 combo of the ZF and this seems to be a bit of a better, I guess, pairing. Additionally, the ZF also has the shutter speed and ISO dials on top. It kind of mimics what a Fuji does, even though I think Fuji implements that a lot better. And so they kind of almost fit together really nicely. I was going to get, again, another XT5 or an XH2, but I just felt like for these shoots I'm doing where I'm shooting into backlit situations, or maybe there's a bit more movement going on, the Nikon ZF is just better at tracking autofocus than an XH2 or an XT5. And so I'm ultimately going to keep the Nikon ZF, although I do debate it daily, and put this in my pocket. And I just wanted to address that real quick, because I think anybody who has the OM-3, or maybe was excited to see me work with and use the OM-3, it's a really, really, really good camera. It really is. From the weather sealing, to the build quality, to the JPEGs it puts out, to it being having a flip screen and a nice battery in it, to the lens options that are available on Micro Four Thirds. It's a really, really great camera. And I just didn't want to dive back into that system hardcore, as I don't think I want to dive back into Fuji hardcore. And this just gave me kind of more of a one-stop shop for Fuji with a nice experience that also could work on video in a pinch, that I'll take with me every day, and which has been the case, by the way, so far. Since I've had this camera, it's been in my pocket, in my car, in my hand every single day. You know, some people think that all I do here is talk about gear, and that's true. I do, but every day I do take photos. I mean, kind of my goal is not to be a professional photographer, although maybe I could do that if I put a lot of effort into it. My goal is to document my kids' lives. There's, you know, so many times we're on vacation and I've taken pictures and videos from 3, 4, 5 years ago, and I look back and I'm like, I'm so glad that I did that. And so the camera that allowed me to do that more easily is the camera I naturally want to pick. And because I'm not big into the editing for everyday photos like that, this camera was really good. Again, the OM-3 was really good too, but I ultimately decided that I think this is going to be a better fit for me. I don't know why I'm making this video, because I don't need to explain my gear choices to you guys, or anybody really, and I'm not trying to be contentious when I say that. It's just more so people are wondering what happened to the OM-3. I've seen some comments from people saying, hey, where's your OM-3? How is it? What do you think? And I ended up picking this up instead. Now, that being said, I'll tell you, I had an X100 Mark V and previous, I think the F in the past. And this camera, the X100 Mark VI, feels better built than those cameras. It feels more solid. This top plate feels like it's just more premium. The overall just controls ergonomics. I love the fact you can push these buttons in the front and the back on these control wheels of the Fuji and access different options. And I just think this is a really, really great camera. My only complaint about this camera really is that the autofocus is Fuji autofocus. And so it's not as good as the OM-3, and it's not as good as the ZF in that respect. And if you want to use this for video, you have to get a 2.5mm to 3.5mm adapter to connect any microphone into it. So that's my only gripes really so far. The fact that I can throw a diffusion filter on the front of this and have NDs at the same time is really, really powerful. And the fact that there's a built-in fill flash is really, really cool as well. If I wanted to get crazy, I could get the TCL and WCL adapters to get wider and tighter, but I don't know if I want to dive into that because it makes the package overall bigger, and then you start really competing with what the ZF is capable of doing, and I don't know if that makes a lot of sense. And so if you're able to get your hands on one of these, this is by far the best iteration of the X100 series, and it has all the fun things that make shooting a lot of fun with it. I know you hear this in a ton of videos because it's all the hype on YouTube, but I ultimately decided that this to me just brought a little bit more joy than the OM-3 overall, and I didn't have to go dive into a system and get a bunch of lenses. And so that's what happened to the OM-3. I have the ZF, which I continue to use for videos like this and for anything that requires better autofocus or maybe like full frame performance. And I'm keeping this camera to keep in my jacket pocket and document things. I'm already super excited for this camera. Like I mentioned, I'm going to Toronto next week. I'll be documenting that trip as much as I can. My wife and I go to a lot of Red Wings games throughout the year. I'll be packaging this with me so I can take pictures during that time. I plan on doing some skiing and snowmobiling with the weather sealing on this. Again, it's just a way better fit for me. That, candidly, the OM-3 could have done it too, but I just couldn't keep both, and I decided that this was the better camera for me. So I don't know what you guys think. You guys can roast me in the comment section below. That's okay if I made a massive mistake. But I think what it comes down to is for $2,000, body alone, plus lenses, getting into the $3,000 territory after you put a few lenses on it that are decent, I didn't feel like that was as great a value as maybe just this by itself was when I already have the Nikon ZF sitting here. So hopefully that explains where the OM-3 went. And I can't promise you I won't revisit it again, especially if it goes on sale, because I really enjoyed that camera. Specifically, I like some of the computational features. Having the live ND built in is really a great feature. And then also some of the stuff with like live time and live capture. You know, you're catching lightning bolts, or you want to do anything with like dragging and panning and stuff. It's just a really, really cool feature to have. So I have an X100 Mark VI and I have a Nikon ZF, and the OM-3 did go back to Amazon, which is where I got it from. And if money opens up in the future, maybe it'll be back, because I think it's a really, really great camera for what it is. So hopefully I answered some questions, you guys. And here's just a couple pictures I've taken with the X100 Mark VI so far. I can tell you, like, if you get autofocus good, or nail autofocus, this 40 megapixel sensor in this lens, I don't know if this resolves all 40 megapixels, but plenty of sharpness and plenty of detail. Oh, one more comment. I'll tell you, I don't know what they're doing on the OM-3. Maybe the OM-1 Mark II is similar, but the high ISO noise performance of that camera was really good compared to old Micro Four Thirds cameras. I don't know if they're doing a better job of like in-camera processing and noise reduction or what, but I felt like when I was shooting in some really dim situations, that OM-3 did do a really good job. So if you're interested in hearing more about the OM-3, sadly I don't have it anymore, but if you're on the fence about it, get it. It's a really, really great camera. So thanks for watching, guys. I'll see you in the next one. And I just wanted to fill you guys in on where the OM-3 went for just a quick filler video. See you in the next one.